Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Saladna, anchor reporter at WCVB-TV in Boston. Welcome to Catholic Charities' 2020 Spring Celebration. It is such a pleasure to be hosting tonight from the comfort of my own home. This is my quarantine robe. Okay, I'm just kidding. We don't need this. This is a special occasion. All right, that's a little better. Now, while we may not be together tonight in person, that will not stop us from celebrating all the truly great work being done in communities all across the Boston area. Throughout this evening's program, instructions will appear on screen for how you can support Catholic Charities work, either by visiting www.ccab.org or by texting CCAB to 41444. So many of you with us tonight have already given so generously to Catholic Charities, and we couldn't be more grateful. Of course, this year there is a unique story to tell during this unprecedented health pandemic. Incredible challenges facing so many individuals and families, and the incredible charity and assistance you bring to the great organization we honor tonight, Catholic Charities of Boston. We have a number of special treats for you tonight. We'll meet the recipient of our annual Justice and Compassion Award. We'll learn firsthand about the everyday struggles of individuals and families in our community. And finally, we'll hear an inspiring message of hope from Father Brian Hare. But first, let's take a closer look at the state of Catholic Charities here in May 2020. Please join me in welcoming Interim President and Chair of the Board of Catholic Charities, Kevin McKenzie.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin McKenzie, Chair of the Board and Interim President of Catholic Charities for the Archdiocese of Boston. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It would have been great to be together as planned at the JFK Library, but I believe you will find our program tonight inspirational and heartwarming. You'll learn how your generous support is making all the difference in the world for thousands of people who desperately need food, shelter, care, and other assistance, especially during these trying times. So our heartfelt thanks to all of you. To begin our evening, I want to share a little about how Catholic Charities is responding to the COVID-19 crisis. Later in the program, you will see and hear about the compassion, the goodness and the kindness that has arisen during these challenging times, in stories from our grateful clients that lift and motivate our team every day. But first, COVID-19 became real for us on Wednesday morning, March 11th, when we learned that the mother of a child in one of our childcare centers tested positive for the virus. This propelled us into high gear, and we have stayed in that mode ever since, constantly making changes across all of our 4 core programs: basic needs, workforce development, immigration services, and family and youth services, to ensure that we remain open and able to serve the families that rely on us. The greatest pressures are felt on the front lines, where we provide food, shelter, and living assistance. Our workers and volunteers are fully aware of the risks, and unfortunately, some have contracted the virus and are being treated and are recovering. But still, every day our team dons gloves and masks to care for residents and pack and distribute food. They understand that in times of crisis is when Catholic Charities is needed most. This call to action, commitment to serve with unwavering compassion, was embraced by all. This is who we are at Catholic Charities. In many ways, I think of us as the safety net for those most vulnerable in our communities. In one recent week, at our food pantries, we served approximately 5,500 people and distributed 65,000 pounds of food. That's almost a 5-fold increase over the weeks before the crisis. Your support makes this possible. Staff at our 5 shelters are also rising to the occasion to continue to provide a safe haven needed now more than ever for pregnant teens, young mothers and their children, and women working through addiction, abuse, and homelessness. At this time, I would like to welcome Mayor Marty Walsh, a great friend of Catholic Charities, with a special tribute to our workers on the front line.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Boston Mayor Marty Walsh, and I hope you're enjoying the Catholic Charities of Boston's first ever virtual spring celebration. I want to sincerely thank the dedicated professionals who continue to show up every day to staff the Catholic Charities shelter and food pantries. These are vital resources that make a world of difference to people who are struggling right now. The coronavirus is one of the biggest challenges our city has ever faced. I know that we'll get through it, thanks to the kindness and generosity and strength of our community. All of you are part of that. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the program.
Mayor Walsh, thank you for your support and leadership during this difficult period. Along with our basic needs programs, our other programs have also adapted to the current environment and found new and alternative ways to serve. In workforce development, our non-English speaking clients, many of whom are immigrants, continue their education and job training programs via Zoom. Our Family and Youth Services programs, which includes counseling to high-risk children, teens, and adults, received the state's okay to deliver telehealth services. And our child care team is gearing up to reopen. Immigration Services also continues to provide interpreter services, legal and resettlement assistance for immigrants and refugees. Now, when I stepped into the role of interim president a couple of months ago, I had a good understanding of the many challenges our team managed. But now, every day in the midst of a global pandemic, I see their courage, grit, and determination. Through all this, I've developed an even deeper admiration for Catholic Charities and our team, and I trust that by the end of this evening, you will too. I thank all of our employees and volunteers for their selfless work. Also, my sincere appreciation to the dinner and now virtual event committee, the board, Father Hare, and Cardinal Sean for their support. Lastly, on behalf of the board and everyone at Catholic Charities, we thank you for your generosity. You make it possible for us to make a real difference in our communities. We are one of the largest broad-based nonprofit social services organizations in Massachusetts, serving more than 175,000 people a year in over 20 locations. We have over 475 employees, and 85 cents of every dollar you contribute goes directly to programs. In closing, this is our annual fundraising event, and we need your continued support. Please consider us in your philanthropic giving as we respond to the growing demands of those who need our help now more than ever. Thank you, stay safe, and be well.
Thank you, Kevin. Incidentally, Kevin stepped into the role of interim president in December so that Debbie Rambo could pursue her well-earned retirement. There's no way he could have known what he was getting himself into and how great the needs of our communities would grow in just a matter of weeks. So on behalf of all of us, thank you, Kevin, for your able leadership and steady hand. Now, we shift our focus to pay tribute to a very special person, Sister Norma Pimentel. As we'll learn, her life's work of helping migrants and refugees has always been about spreading compassion in the midst of despair and difficulty. From all of us at Catholic Charities, we want to say a heartfelt thank you and congratulations for being this year's 2020 Justice and Compassion Award recipient. Your mission is truly a bridge among walls.
Sometimes I say, I can't believe how many people are coming, you know? It's like almost as if those countries are gonna get emptied. They've gone through so much. They've traveled through so many countries from Central America, either Guatemala, Honduras, or El Salvador. They've been in the road, in their journey for many weeks, and most of the time walking and just hiding from people from hurting them. All of them are dirty and muddy, and they're scared, they're frightened. They need help. They have been processed by Border Patrol, and they have been allowed to travel. You see this transformation begin to start to change them and to see the dignity that is so important in every person's life.
I think one of the most important aspects of Sister Norma Pimentel is the way she lives her faith. You talk about a pillar in the community when it comes to selfless service. Without Sister Norma and without the community engagement, our mission of border security would be a very difficult mission to achieve.
At the end of the day, you live here exhausted, but you live here with a sense of accomplishment that you've done something good. Helping another human being is never wrong. That's never a wrong thing to do. Hello to my Catholic Charities family in Boston. It is unfortunate that I cannot personally thank you for recognizing the efforts that we do here in southern border of Texas, upholding the dignity and respect of humanity. I am honored to accept the 2020 Justice and Compassion Award. Thank you. Thank you for this honor and for this opportunity to, this award highlights the importance of caring, especially in this time where we are experiencing a lot of human suffering due to this pandemic. You know, in the midst of this isolation and suffering that the whole world is experiencing, this award highlights the importance of caring, something that is so important to do, especially today. It is something that we have learned, if anything, from this pandemic, is how frail and how vulnerable we all are, and how important it is for us to stay united and to be united so that we can survive. So as we move forward to come out of isolation, I hope that we can remember the importance of caring for one another, the importance of putting aside our fears so that we cannot paralyze ourselves and be indifferent to the human suffering that we see before us, so that we can honor and respect others, and especially be able to recognize the sanctity of life in everyone. Because it's always good to help somebody else. It's never wrong to help another person. It's always the right thing to do. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Wow, that's who we are. Thank you, Sister Norma. Your work has inspired us all. For over 100 years, Catholic Charities in this Archdiocese of Boston has been providing those most needed services to our community: shelters, food pantries, English as a second language programs, child and elder care, and much, much more. Now, during this unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, the work we do every day is even more vital. We are the one organization that is uniquely positioned to provide exactly the right kind of care, the care our community needs right now.
Thinking about those who are like me in the community, suffering and going through poverty, that's what keeps me up at night.
Oh God, he's not working, I'm not working. It's like, God, it was horrible, but I thought I'd be back to work now, but it's just taken longer than we thought.
You know, luckily, my wife found, Catholic Charities. The support has been absolutely amazing.
"23 years ago, I came to this country from Chad as a refugee, and without Catholic Charity, I will never make it to where I am.
One of the things we love most about Catholic Charities is they really help people and families get from crisis to stability and ultimately to self-sufficiency. And that's the kind of organization we want to support.
This building and all of our food pantries are very, very active each day now. We are serving hundreds of families a day in the 5 different food pantries that we run.
St. Ambrose Shelter is an amazing place because it doesn't just help the people here. We've been giving food to people in the community and clothing and trying to help them as much as we can.
The mercenaries are the thing that caused the most fear. They forced people out of their homes and into refugee camps. They were very violent and killing particularly small children, and it was therefore necessary for us to leave. When we arrived in the airport, we learned about Catholic Charities, and charity and love are the same.
One thing that has really struck me as the COVID crisis has mounted was the photographs that I've seen of the lines of cars and people looking for food. In this country, the wealthiest country in the world, to see such devastation.
In the past 7 weeks, we have gone through 100,000 pounds of food more than we went through during this time last year. It has increased dramatically.
Since the COVID-19 pandemic started, childcare for Rowan has looked really different. The doors closed, but very quickly the administrators and the teachers of Catholic Charities childcare banded together and began offering some virtual programming.
The most inspirational aspect of Catholic Charities' work is that their immigrant work is legal services work. And yet, the second that this crisis hit, they understood that their lawyers now were case managers. Their lawyers who were previously fighting in a courtroom are now buying diapers and buying formula and getting rent checks paid. And when we saw how quickly and how nimble they were, we just said, that's it. This is the first check that we're going to write in this COVID crisis.
The situation we find ourselves in right now is unprecedented. The people who are suffering are our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers. Our donation to Catholic Charities can help alleviate that suffering.
Once my husband and I learned that there's been a 400% increase in people seeking support at the Catholic Charities food pantries, we knew we had to do something. Any one of us could be in this position, and we need to come together as a community to support them.
I just went down to our food pantry and the shelves are nearly bare. We are in need of more food, in need of the funding to purchase this food, and as we know, we don't know when this is going to come to an end, but we need to make sure that we have more available to help the people in need.
I generally provide individual therapy to children, adolescents, and adults. Whether it is severe depression or substance abuse or trauma that our clients have experienced, amongst other things. It is critical that right now we are reaching out to them and we are providing the support that they need. Someday when we get to the new normal, she'll come back to Catholic Charities childcare. She just lights up when she sees her teacher. She knows that it's Stacy and she smiles.
I was able to go back to school, work taking care of myself, and studying hard and becoming who I am. Right now, I'm a nurse now. And without Catholic Charities, I will never make it to where I am.
We chose to continue supporting Catholic Charities childcare with our tuition going towards a donation because we know that the work that's being done is so incredibly important, and we know the people behind that work.
The need right now, it's 10 times more than what we have seen in the past. Thank you very much, and I ask please continue helping us.
Thank you, Catholic Charities, for all that you have done for me, my family.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
This is what we do. And with each passing week, the demand for important services is multiplying. It is vital that we continue to have more food available in our pantries. It is vital to keep our shelters going strong. It is vital to be able to provide a bridge for individuals and families so they can get through this pandemic, back to work, back to school, back on their feet. At this time, I think we can all agree it is a good time for inspiration. And what better way than a virtual masterclass on hope, generosity, and encouragement for the future? It is my great pleasure to introduce Father Brian Hare.
Good evening. I am delighted to be with you tonight, lifelong supporters of Catholic Charities. We gather tonight in an atmosphere different than anything I've known in over 40 years' relationship with Catholic Charities. We're in the midst of a crisis that's hard to define, but we know it has enormous consequences for human life. And taking care of human life is what Catholic Charities is all about. When I'm asked to summarize Catholic Charities' work, it's always three questions. What do we do? Why do we do it? And how do we do it? Tonight, our president, Kevin McKenzie, has given you the sense of what we do, the range of things that Catholic Charities does. Let me say a word about why we do it. Why we do it is as ancient as God's revelation recorded in the Scriptures is. In the very opening chapters of the book of Genesis, the creation of the world, this world that surrounds us today in a way that at times is troubling. But in that text, God creates the world like someone writing a symphony. There is nothing, and then there is something. There's darkness, and then there's light, and then there's life. And at the pinnacle of life is human life. And God says, let us make them like unto me. And we believe that that text, which is poetic, is a poetic statement that we all are the image of God. Every person is the image of God. Catholic Charities exists to create the conditions in the world that people who are the image of God are treated with that kind of respect, given the resources needed to live their human dignity. That's where the work of Catholic Charities begins, the sacredness of the human person. The second great text in the Scriptures is the teaching of the prophets. The Hebrew prophets were the conscience of Israel, and the Hebrew prophets always said, the quality of your faith is dependent on the character of justice in the land. Where you stand with God depends on how you stand with each other. And the prophets would go on to say, and we will help you test where you stand. Ask in every age how the widows, the orphans, and the resident aliens fare among you. They are the test of justice in every society. The Congressional Budget Office will tell us that the three most vulnerable groups in American society are women, children, and immigrants. Catholic Charities is about care for them, the widows, the orphans, and the resident aliens. And so we go from the prophets to the New Testament. God becomes human to live among us. Jesus of Nazareth, the Jesus who, in the final chapters of Matthew's Gospel, what the Scripture scholars call the judgment of nations, Jesus is pictured standing on a mountain with the world spread out before him. And the test of entrance into the kingdom of God is whether we have fed the hungry, clothed the naked, cared for prisoners, made human life, made in the image of God, respected in that way. And so Catholic Charities, the work of what we do reaches from Genesis to the New Testament, and it reaches to our day today. How we do this work is in collaboration with you. Without your support, we cannot care for the widows, the orphans, and the immigrants of our time. And so I ask you this night, in the midst of a crisis that is hard to define, but that we know has enormous, damaging impact on human beings, I ask you for your help and your support. We will do the work, but we need a support system that makes it possible for us to carry on the message from Genesis through the prophets to Jesus to our own time, caring for the sacredness of every human person.
Thank you, Father Hare, for sharing God's words, as always. As our virtual gala comes to a close, I'd like to personally thank you for attending and for allowing me to be part of your mission. And as a fitting conclusion to tonight's ceremonies, we've invited Cardinal Sean O'Malley to honor us all with a closing blessing. In these difficult times, we truly appreciate your attention and your generosity for spending this time with us. We strongly encourage you to please donate to keep vital services coming to those who need it most. Your donation will be immediately used today, tomorrow, and the next day, and your donation will go right here locally, where it is most needed, to our friends and neighbors in our very own communities. Thank you so much for your support in helping Catholic Charities provide the services our community so desperately needs right now. For Catholic Charities, I'm Mary Saladna. And now, Cardinal Sean O'Malley.
Good evening, and thank you for joining in our virtual gala. We're grateful for your participation. Mayor Walsh, we appreciate your calm leadership during this public health crisis and your support for the first responders and frontline workers whose service is critical for all of us. Sister Norma, we're blessed by your presence with us and by your dedication to the men, women, and children suffering at our southern borders. Your service for these, often unseen and forgotten, is a sign of God's presence among us. To the clients who so generously share their experiences with us, thank you for the gift of your humility and dignity and determination to succeed. This evening, we want to acknowledge the dedication of Catholic Charities trustees, the service of our board chair and acting president, Kevin McKenzie, and the Charities staff and volunteers working on the front lines. In responding to the individuals and families in need of food, shelter, immigration services, and legal assistance, you are carrying out the mission given to us by Jesus. None of these essential services would be possible without the generous support provided by our donors. We are aware that everyone has been impacted by the serious disruption of the economy. All contributions at whatever level is possible make a significant difference for Catholic Charities being able to provide for the needs of those coming to us for assistance. All of us have experienced different crises in our lives. I myself was in the West Indies during Hurricane Hugo, and during these terrible times of the assassination of Martin Luther King or the bombings at the marathon here, we see how these events bring out the best and the worst in people. I'm so grateful that what I'm seeing today is the best coming out in people. At this time, we need to take care of each other. Many of the distractions that preoccupied us before the pandemic now seem much less important. By giving of ourselves, we bring the presence of the Lord to others through kindness, compassion, and accompaniment. It is in that service that we find hope and fulfillment. Let us pray. Father of goodness, we invoke your blessing upon all of us. Give us generous and loving hearts to be able to follow the gospel mandate of serving one another, especially taking care of those who are most in need. Help us to carry on this service with joy, with generosity, with love, and with a spirit of sacrifice. And all of this we ask in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Thank you to everyone who's helping Catholic Charities right now during this pandemic. People are really struggling, and your support goes a long way. Thank you.
Thank you for all of your support to Catholic Charities. We appreciate it greatly and understand that this is a very difficult time, and we're very, very grateful.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much, Catholic Charity, for giving me the opportunity to be again one more time someone that people can look at and respect. I'm grateful, and thank you for everybody that support this program and to help this program keep going to help more refugees.
On behalf of all of those we are fortunate to serve at Refugee and Immigration Services, we say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your amazing support. You are truly making a difference in the lives of others.
I want to thank all of you who has helped the Catholic Charities Merrimack Valley. People, those who are from the Merrimack Valley as well as from other part of the state, want to thank you very much.
On behalf of myself, my coworkers, and my students, I want to thank you for your continued support during these difficult times, and we wish you the best. Thank you very much.
What I would like to say to Catholic Charities is a huge thank you, an unlimited thank you. And over Catholic Charities, I would like to give them a blessing forever.